Alright guys, all-terrain track chair. We're going to do a little overview of the air system. I've got a majority of the systems fully hooked up. So we're going to do an overview on this. We're looking at the right side of the machine there. And we're going to come around here to the back end. And down here on the back end we've got this tray. You can see a little bit of wood there. That's temporary. That'll be replaced with metal later on. But on this tray we've got dual batteries. The shiny cylindrical thing there in the center is the air tank, and tucked in behind each battery, see if we can get in there and get a view of it. That's hard to see. Well, there's one air compressor, and then over here on this other side, see if we can get in there, second air compressor. So there is two air compressors. There's a starter solenoid right there. It's hard to see. It's packed in there pretty tight. And those air compressors provide air for the entire air system. Now you're probably wondering, what is air on this system? Well, quite a few things. Let's take a look. So in one of my earlier videos, quite a while ago, I had an overview of the air suspension. That's the first part of the air system. There are actually two air shocks, one here for the front set of boogie wheels, and one right there in back for the second set of boogie wheels. And then there's an air cylinder right there, and that's for the track tension. So we've got to have air to those systems. So that's the first part of the air system on the all-terrain track chair. The second part is we've got a windshield frame that will have plexiglass on it, polycarbonate. And we've got these additional pieces on the front of the ramp, and those fold up. So we've got those things that are also on air systems. And then we've got this safety bar inside there, and that opens and closes. I don't have that hooked up yet. I need two more T-fittings. I was running short on T-fittings, so I don't have that hooked up. But we're going to demonstrate the rest of this. Little overview. On the left side of the machine, inside the cockpit, we've got two sets of air gauges. Each one of those gauges controls two functions. The bottom one controls the left and right air tension for the tracks separately, and that's necessary so that otherwise if they're coupled together, when you go to do a turn, one loosens and one tightens. It doesn't work real well. Tried it. So they need to be separate, so they're on one air gauge. And then the upper air gauge there controls, again, two functions. So one of those controls the front airbags, left and right, and it also controls the rear airbags, left and right together. So we'll demonstrate that here in a little bit. Then we've got two air switches. This front air switch is an override, and that is for the windshield and front flipper. That's an override that if you flip it the other way like that, it will do the opposite position of whatever it's in. This air switch right here is for that safety bar, and I'm just going to show you guys what that looks like when it comes down. So it comes down. There will be some seat belts mounted here that go up to the back of that back bar, and that'll provide shoulder belting, automated, so that when you get in, you can close the safety bar, keeps you constrained, and those straps will tighten down to keep your shoulders constrained. Flip that back up. Well, there's another video on that around. We're going to demonstrate the suspension and this front windshield opening. There's the air cylinder for the front windshield. One there, one right there, and then on the front ramp flipper, we're going to go underneath here. It's kind of dark, but there is an air cylinder, two of them. up underneath there. So we're going to demonstrate this. With one air compressor, it was 3 minutes to fill up that air tank. That seemed to be a bit too long, so we went with 2. It's now down to 1.5 minutes, 90 seconds. Alright, I also wired in an override switch right here. So if for some reason there's an air leak, air compressors are running, you can shut those off and not listen to that. Or if you just don't need the air compressor sitting there, you can shut it off and have the rest of everything else on and running. So now the ramp raises and lowers with the electric actuators, and there's one right there and there's one right there. And so it's helpful, since the windshield frame needs to open, front flipper needs to open, that those just automatically open when the ramp gets to a certain position. So I added this micro switch right there, and when the cylinder, the electric actuator gets to a certain point, it flips that switch, which activates an air solenoid back there on the firewall. You can just barely see it right there. And that goes to all the plumbing that goes to these air cylinders up here and the air cylinders down here on the ramp. So we're going to set this camera up so that you can hopefully see this whole thing. I'm going to air up the system, and then we'll demonstrate this functionality on the track chair. Okay, I aired the system up, so we're all set to go. We've got the ramp down, flippers down, front windshield is open. I'm going to demonstrate what happens when the ramp goes up, and you'll watch the windshield automatically close. We're going to use these switches right here. There's also switches on the radio control panel so that you can remotely do this. I'm going to use it on the switches here just because it's easier. So we've got one switch for up. So there the air cylinder closes, the windshield comes down, and we'll move the camera so you can see the front flipper go up. We're going to lower the ramp down, the front windshield's going to open. Okay, we've got the camera positioned so that you can see the front ramp there. Just lower it the rest of the way down. Wheelchair will easily roll right up into that. So we're going to raise the ramp here. Windshield closes first, and then the front of the ramp flips and folds up. So that way it maintains a lower viewing angle for looking out the front, but you still get plenty of ramp area to make it a nice gradual transition. Ramp goes down. There's also, I'll demonstrate the override switch. And again, that's right there. So we're going to come around here. So hopefully you can see that. And we'll flip that this way. We're on the floor, so the ramp flipper may not close. We'll just raise the ramp just a little bit over here. And it does just automatically flip. So again, we'll demonstrate. We're going to flip that switch the other way. Hopefully you can see that all right. Alright, so that's the air ramp flipper that unfolds, and of course the windshield. And the override switch is there in case the electric actuators were to burn out for some reason, you lose electrical power, something just goes wrong. We want to make sure that whatever's in there can get out. That's our main focus. focus here is safety. So air, you can push on the air. If you lose air, there's going to be gas shocks, one of which is here. There'll be a second one on this side. This stuff will automatically open with very little effort, maybe even no effort. So safety is paramount. Let's demonstrate the air suspension stuff. Get in here so we can see this. All right, here's the air tensioner one. So this button here is to raise it up. So you can see it just airs right up real easy. Second side up. And then this is the release. And down it goes. Same thing then for front airbags and rear airbags. This is the fill button. We fill that up. Fill goes right up. So there's the air system. Once again, this one is for the safety bar. I have demonstrated that in other videos. As soon as we get some more T-fittings, we'll get that hooked up, and then we can do that with the safety bar and demonstrate that with the full system. One of the things I did want to highlight here is that we've got some flow control valves. So that's this little valve right here, and it is on both ends of the air cylinder because it only provides flow control in one direction. So in order to get flow control in both directions, you need one on either side of the air cylinder. What that does allows you to adjust the speed at which the air cylinder moves. Otherwise, air cylinders with no restriction, full pressure, 90 psi to 100 psi, these things bang almost instantaneously, and we don't want that with any of these functions. So we've got those flow controls in. You need one on either end. So there's the air system. Front windshield, the ramp, front airbag, rear airbag, and the air cylinder for tension. And so that's all we've got for right now. We'll put this together, and thanks for watching, everyone.